My husband, Ethan Caldwell, had a talent for being cruel in the sweetest tone, the kind of tone rich men use when they want to sound reasonable while crushing you under $1,000 loafer. That night, in our penthouse overlooking Manhattan, the one he always called his, even though the deed had both of our names, he leaned back in the leather bar stool, swirled his 18-year-old Macallan, and said the sentence that sliced something open inside me. "Baby, I'm just saying, I could do better." He didn't say it in a fight. He said it like he was reading the weather report. Calm, bored, emotionless, like it had been sitting on his tongue waiting to be spoken for months. I stood there holding the tray of hors d'oeuvres I'd made for his business partners who were coming over, dressed in a fitted black dress I'd bought specifically because he once said it made me look expensive. Not that I needed his approval. Not anymore. But back then, I think I still wanted it. Just a little. "Do better?" I repeated, my voice thin. He flashed me a smile, the kind of smile that didn't touch his eyes, which were already half glancing at the notification lighting up his phone. "Don't get dramatic, Maeve. I'm just being honest. A man like me, I could have married someone with more drive, more class, more ambition, someone who actually fits into the circles I move in now." He took another sip of his drink and shrugged. "You've gotten comfortable." I wanted to laugh. Comfortable? I'd built half of Ethan's empire with him. I'd been the one staying up at 3 a.m. drafting proposals he took credit for. I'd been the one smoothing business deals, writing campaigns, hosting his clients, playing the polished wife so he could pretend success came naturally to him. Comfortable wasn't the word. Exhausted was. But you can't say that to a man who wants excuses to believe he's outgrown you. Not when he's already convinced himself he's the shiny one in the relationship. So I inhaled slowly, placed the tray of hors d'oeuvres I'd made for his business partners who were coming over, dressed in a fitted black dress I'd bought specifically because he once said it made me look expensive. Not that I needed his approval. Not anymore. But back then, I think I still wanted it. Just a little. "Do better?" I repeated, my voice thin. He flashed me a smile, the kind of smile that didn't touch his eyes, which were already half glancing at the notification lighting up his phone. "Don't get dramatic, Maeve. I'm just being honest. A man like me, I could have married someone with more drive, more class, more ambition, someone who actually fits into the circles I move in now." He took another sip of his drink and shrugged. "You've gotten comfortable." I wanted to laugh. Comfortable? I'd built half of Ethan's empire with him. I'd been the one staying up at 3 a.m. drafting proposals he took credit for. I'd been the one smoothing business deals, writing campaigns, hosting his clients, playing the polished wife so he could pretend success came naturally to him. Comfortable wasn't the word. Exhausted was. But you can't say that to a man who wants excuses to believe he's outgrown you. Not when he's already convinced himself he's the shiny one in the relationship. So I inhaled slowly, placed the tray on the marble counter, and said, "Got it." He blinked. "Got what?" "That you think you can do better." His grin widened, like he couldn't tell if I was agreeing or challenging him. Probably because he was already tipsy with entitlement and the belief that I'd never leave. In his mind, women like me, loyal, smart, behind the scenes, didn't walk away. We clung. We begged. We broke. He had no idea who he was talking to. Not anymore. "Don't take it so personally, Maeve," he said casually. "It's just facts. I built something massive. I'm in the top 1% now. I need someone higher caliber." "Someone like who?" His eyes flicked to his phone again. "You don't know her." Her. The lightning bolt hit so fast I almost missed the full sting. Of course, there was someone. There's always someone when a man starts believing his own hype. "Is this about another woman?" I asked. He scoffed. "Don't start with your paranoia. I'm just saying the truth. We both know you got lucky with me. You came from nothing, Maeve. I elevated you. I came from nothing? Funny, considering I was the one who brought the investor who started his company. Funny, considering the trust fund he thought was mine was actually play money compared to what I really had access to. But he never bothered to ask. He assumed. And I let him. Because real money stays quiet. Real money doesn't need to scream. Right, I said softly. You elevated me. He didn't hear the irony. He never did. The doorbell rang, his business partners arriving, and he straightened, brushing invisible lint off his shirt. Look presentable, he said under his breath, and try not to talk too much. You always ramble when you're nervous. Then he kissed my cheek with all the warmth of a corporate handshake and walked away. My chest burned, but not from heartbreak, but from clarity. I wasn't losing him. I'd already lost him long ago. Tonight was just the first time he said it out loud. And that's the thing about truth. Once spoken, it can't be taken back. The guests flooded in, men in suits, women dripping diamonds, names that belonged in magazines and Forbes lists, and I slipped into hostess mode, because that's what I did best. Except tonight, something inside me had shifted. I watched Ethan brag about his latest deal, pretending he'd strategized it himself when I'd been the one pulling strings behind the scenes. I watched him flirt too long with a 26-year-old blonde consultant named Vienna, who let her hand linger on his arm a second too long. I watched him dismiss my ideas in conversation, only to immediately rephrase and present them as his own when the group nodded. And I watched myself, the woman who made this life possible, fade into the background. Not because I wasn't worth seeing, but because he wasn't capable of seeing me. I kept my smile tight and my voice calm until the final guest left and the front door clicked shut. Ethan tossed his tie on the couch and loosened his shirt, exhausted like he'd done something meaningful all night. "What?" he said when he caught me watching him. "You look pissed." "I'm not pissed. I'm thinking." He grabbed a bottle of water, chugged dramatically, and wiped his mouth. "What about?" "About what you said." He rolled his eyes. "Oh my God, Maeve, let it go. I'm trying to help you. I'm saying you gotta step it up. You've lost your spark." "Maybe you never saw my spark," I said quietly. He froze for a second, like he wasn't expecting a comeback. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said. But it meant everything. He looked annoyed, but didn't push it. Instead, he waved his hand dismissively. "Whatever. I'm going to bed." He walked into the bedroom. Not once did he turn back to see if I followed. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't. I sat on the couch, letting the city lights paint the room in gold and blue. I thought about the woman I used to be, the dreams I'd shelved, the billion-dollar family legacy I never talked about, the inheritance he assumed didn't exist, the business empire my parents built before they died, one I'd quietly inherited but didn't touch because I'd wanted, stupidly, to build something real with Ethan. I thought about the companies I owned under shell names, the real estate he had no clue about, the investment portfolios larger than his entire net worth. And I thought about his sentence, "I could do better." My laugh was bitter and soft. Not only could he not do better, he had no idea how far beneath me he actually was. But this wasn't about ego. This wasn't about winning or proving something. This was about truth, and truth deserved to be seen, heard, understood. If Ethan wanted to believe I wasn't enough, fine. Let him choke on the reality of who I truly was. I picked up my phone, opened the private messaging thread I rarely used, and typed, "Activate Tier 1. Full confidentiality. I want asset reports and ownership transfers ready within the week." 10 seconds later, the reply came. "Understood, Miss Hale." Hale. My real last name. The name of an empire Ethan had no idea existed. I locked my phone, leaned back, and closed my eyes. If he wanted to see better, I'd show him, just not the way he expected. Because when a man tells you he could do better, you don't argue, you don't cry. You let him believe it. You let him build his fantasy. And then, when the moment is right, you shatter it. And I already had the perfect plan forming. Except, I had no idea Ethan was already forming one of his own, one that involved Vienna, a secret villa in Miami, and a deal that would drag me into a storm I never saw coming. And that was the moment everything shifted. The moment I realized Ethan wasn't just planning to replace me, he was planning to erase me. But the biggest shock wasn't Ethan's betrayal. It was the stranger who knocked on my door. The knock came at 7:12 a.m., sharp enough to slice through the quiet. I wasn't even dressed yet, still sitting at the dining table in Ethan's oversized t-shirt, drinking coffee that tasted bitter no matter how much sugar I added. I hadn't slept. How could I? A sentence like, "I could do better," doesn't just bruise, it festers. I considered ignoring the knocking, pretending I wasn't home, but something in my gut, the same instinct that told me when a business deal was going south, whispered, "Open the door." So I did. A man in a charcoal gray suit stood in the hallway, late 30s, sharp jaw, sharper eyes, the kind of man who didn't believe in smiling unless it served a purpose. He looked like he walked out of a high-end legal drama. "Miss Hale?" he asked. My spine stiffened instantly. Nobody, absolutely nobody, called me by my real last name unless it was someone tied to my family's old world. "Depends who's asking," I said, gripping the door just enough to slam it if needed. "My name is Rowan Black." He lifted an ID wallet. He wasn't lying. The emblem embossed on the metal tag wasn't just rare, it was elite. A private intelligence firm that handled the messes billionaires didn't want traced back to them. My family had used them years ago, back when my parents were alive, and our empire rivaled small nations. I hadn't interacted with anyone from that world in years. "What do you want?" I asked. Rowan's gaze swept over my face, assessing. Not in a creepy way, in a calculating way. "It's regarding your husband, Ethan Caldwell." "We're not open to solicitors," I said, starting to close the door. His hand shot out, stopping it with controlled precision, not brute force, just certainty. "It's urgent." My heart thudded once, heavy. "If this is about business, talk to him." Rowan's jaw flexed. "Ms. Hale, your husband is in danger, and by extension, so are you." The worst part? I wasn't surprised. You don't survive in the world I was born into without learning to recognize truth in a person's tone, and this man wasn't lying. I opened the door fully. "Inside," I said. "Talk." He stepped in, scanning the penthouse with quick, trained eyes. "Your home is under surveillance." My stomach dropped. "What?" "Your husband is being watched, which means you are too." "Watched by who?" Rowan looked at me like the answer was a ticking bomb. "By the same people he's been laundering money for." I blinked. "My husband works in tech." "Your husband works in whatever he's paid to work in, and right now, he's in deep with a South Florida syndicate." I stared at him, trying to process his words. "No, Ethan's a jerk, sure, but a criminal? A money launderer? No, absolutely not." Rowan didn't flinch. "Ethan owes people money, dangerous people, and he's been using you to cover his tracks." That last sentence hit like a punch. "Using me how?" "Your connections, your hidden wealth, your name." I froze. "He doesn't know about my real family." "He knows enough," Rowan said. "Enough to leak pieces of your background to the wrong men. Men who think you can be squeezed for a payout." My hands went cold. "You're telling me Ethan betrayed me to criminals?" "He didn't betray you," Rowan said. "He sold you." My lungs stopped working. No, he wouldn't." "He offered your family's assets as collateral on a debt." "My family's assets aren't even accessible to him." "He told them you'd make it accessible." I stumbled backward, gripping the edge of the counter. Rowan didn't move to help me. He just watched, giving me the space to absorb the blow. "Why would he do that?" I asked. Rowan's mouth tightened. Because he plans to leave you, and he thinks draining you first is fair compensation. My vision blurred. I have Vienna. He thinks she's an upgrade. Vienna's not who you think she is, Rowan said quietly. I looked up sharply. Who is she? A honey trap. A plant. The syndicate sent her months ago. I covered my mouth with my hand. Oh my God. And Ethan thinks he's seducing her, Rowan continued. But the truth is, she's extracting information from him, and he's giving it. My brain raced at 1,000 miles per hour. Why are you here? I asked. What does your firm want with me? Your godfather contracted us after we intercepted chatter about you being targeted. My heartbeat stuttered. You spoke to Miles? Yes. He looked almost surprised by my reaction. He said you'd be stubborn, that you wouldn't believe any of this. Damn right I don't, I snapped, even though deep down my instincts were connecting dots faster than I could deny them. Show me proof. Rowan nodded, pulled out a small tablet, tapped a folder, and handed it to me. The first file was a grainy photo. Ethan, sitting in a Miami rooftop bar, leaning in close to Vienna, laughing, his hand on her thigh. My stomach twisted, but that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the man sitting across from them, tattooed, broad-shouldered, wearing a gold chain I recognized instantly. Gabriel Rivas, a mid-level enforcer for the same syndicate that laundered money through Miami's luxury real estate market. Rowan swiped to the next photo. Ethan shaking Gabriel's hand. The next, Ethan signing something. The next, Ethan whispering in Vienna's ear while Gabriel watched. No. Oh God, no. Rowan didn't soften. There's more. He opened a document, Ethan's signature, next to a line that read, Collateral offered, Maeve Hale, net worth undisclosed, access to assets TBD. My knees nearly gave out. I signed my name. He put me on a contract. Not legally, but the syndicate doesn't care about legal. He said he could do better, I said hollowly, but he didn't want better. He wanted richer. Rowan's expression shifted almost imperceptibly, a flicker of sympathy. I'm here because we don't have much time. They want a meeting. Tonight. With who? You. My blood ran cold. Absolutely not. They think you're worth 9 figures. If you don't show up, they'll come here instead, and they won't come politely. I pressed a shaking hand to my forehead. How do I know this isn't all some insane manipulation? Rowan's tone stayed steady. Believe me or don't, but if you walk into your bedroom right now, you'll find something under your husband's side of the bed, something he didn't want you to see. My heart pounded. What is it? Check. I ran. Literally ran. Threw open the bedroom door, dropped to my knees, and lifted the deep drawer under Ethan's side of the bed. At first, I saw nothing but his extra socks and a stack of magazines. Then I felt it, a smooth, rectangular edge beneath the clothes. I pulled out a hidden box. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was an international phone, a second passport with Ethan's picture but not his name, a set of Miami condo keys, receipts for luxury purchases I'd never seen, and worst, a plane ticket. Miami to Colombia, one way. No return. Departure 3 days from now. Ethan wasn't planning to replace me. Ethan was planning to disappear. Son of a... My voice cracked. Rowan's voice floated from the doorway. He was going to run with Vienna once he delivered you. I stood slowly, holding the evidence, my body vibrating with a mix of shock, rage, and something sharp and electric in my chest. Okay, I said. Calm. Deadly calm. Say I believe you. What do you want me to do? Rowan stepped into the room, his expression unreadable. We get ahead of this. We stage a meeting. You go in protected. We expose Ethan's betrayal to the syndicate, so they turn on him instead of you. We clear your name, and you walk away clean. And him? Rowan hesitated. If things go south, Miss Hale, he won't walk away at all. I swallowed. And you expect me to be fine with that? I expect you to decide whether a man who sold you to criminals deserves your protection. And that was the moment something inside me snapped into place, like a puzzle piece locking, like clarity slamming into my chest.
Ethan had already chosen his side, and it wasn't mine. "Fine," I said. "Tell me the plan." Rowan nodded once. "Good, because we have 12 hours. 12 hours until I confronted the man who said he could do better. 12 hours until I shattered his fantasy. 12 hours until the first move in a game he didn't know he was playing. And I suddenly realized something else. Rowan wasn't just protecting me. He was studying me, calculating me, as if I wasn't the abandoned wife, but the explosive he'd just been hired to unleash. He had no idea how right he was. But hours later, when I followed Rowan into a hidden safe house to prep for the meeting, I discovered someone waiting inside whom I never expected to see again, and whose presence would change everything I thought I knew about Ethan's betrayal.
The safe house was nothing like the word suggested. I expected concrete walls, steel doors, and dim lighting, something from a crime show. Instead, Rowan drove me to a luxury brownstone hidden behind vine-covered iron gates in Tribeca, the kind of place billionaires bought when they wanted to escape the noise, but still be close enough to call the police if someone breathed too aggressively near their Maserati. "This is a safe house?" I asked as he parked in the underground garage, my voice thick with disbelief. "One of them," Rowan said simply. "Yours is upstairs." "Mine," I repeated. "Ms. Hale." He looked at me, eyes cool and clinical. "You're not a civilian in this situation. You're an asset." "I'm a woman who just found out her husband sold her," I snapped. "That does not make me an asset." "It makes you the only leverage the syndicate thinks is worth killing for," he corrected, "which means you're either an asset or a target. You choose which one you want to be." Damn him for being right. We stepped out of the car and moved toward the elevator. My hands were still shaking, but my mind was sharpening with every step. Ethan had dug his own grave, and apparently tried to bury me in the same hole. But I wasn't done yet. The elevator doors slid open to the penthouse level. Rowan motioned for me to enter, but before he could step inside, the doors behind us opened. Footsteps echoed. Someone else had arrived. Rowan's hand automatically went to his side. Instinctive, protective, dangerous. I turned just as the figure stepped into the dim garage lights, and my world tilted. "Maeve!" The voice was soft, disbelieving, achingly familiar. My breath left my body. "Lena?" Lena Rivera, my former best friend, my sister-in-law, Ethan's sister, the woman I once trusted like family, until she vanished from our lives completely 2 years ago with zero explanation, leaving Ethan furious and me heartbroken. She looked different now, leaner, sharper, her long dark hair pulled into a braid, her eyes ringed with exhaustion. But she was still Lena, the girl who once held my hand during panic attacks, the girl who cried with me when my parents died, the girl who disappeared without a word. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. Lena's gaze flicked to Rowan. "You told her?" Rowan nodded. "She needed to know." "Needed to know what? And why do you know him?" Lena swallowed, hesitating, then stepped closer. "Maeve, I didn't disappear because of you. I left because your husband tried to have me killed." The room swayed. What?" "He hired the syndicate," she said, voice cracking. "Because I found out something about him I wasn't supposed to know, something I wasn't safe knowing." "Safe from what?" The words barely left my mouth. Lena inhaled sharply. "He wasn't laundering money at first. He was stealing it." Rowan cut in, voice flat. "Your husband skimmed millions off the syndicate before he ever got involved with them. They only realized it after the fact. When they came for him, he panicked and offered someone else's name as collateral." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "Yours." My knees buckled and I grabbed the wall, forcing myself to breathe. "Why didn't you warn me?" I whispered. "Why didn't you come to me?" "I tried," she said, her voice cracking. "I tried 100 times, but every time I got close, something happened. My car got tampered with, my apartment was broken into, my emails got wiped.
They were watching me, and then Rowan found me before the wrong people did. Barely, Rowan muttered. She was already on a list. Lena rubs her arms like she was cold. I went into hiding so Ethan wouldn't connect you to me, so he wouldn't think I told you anything. Because if he did, he'd come after you too. The pieces clicked. Ethan's rage anytime I mentioned Lena, his refusal to talk about her disappearance, his claim that she was ungrateful, mentally unstable, a thief. Lies. All lies. So, you knew Ethan was involved with criminals? You knew he was in danger. I knew he was dangerous, Lena corrected. You still think he's stupid, Maeve. He's not. He's manipulative. He's been manipulating everyone for years. My throat tightened. I lived with him. How did I not see it? Because you wanted to love him, and manipulators love people who want to love them. It makes them predictable. It makes them blind. Rowan checked his watch. We need to go upstairs. We have a lot to cover before tonight. I followed numbly as he led us into the elevator. My mind was splitting apart and reassembling itself at the same time. Ethan wasn't just a cheater, not just a liar, not just an arrogant, self-absorbed man with a god complex. He was a criminal, a thief, a man who sold me to save himself. And Lena had been trying to save me long before I even knew I needed saving. The elevator doors opened into a pristine living space, floor-to-ceiling windows, neutral colors, minimalist furniture, controlled luxury. Sit, Rowan said, pulling a chair out for me. It annoyed me that he sounded like he was talking to someone who couldn't stand on her own, but the truth was, my legs were unsteady anyway. Lena perched on the arm of the couch, anxiety radiating from her. Rowan placed a tablet in front of me. We're going to walk through everything step by step. Everything? I asked hoarsely. Everything, he confirmed. Because if you don't understand what Ethan did and what he's planning, you can't walk into that meeting tonight. Then start talking, I said. No more soft landings, no more gentle warnings. I want all of it. Rowan's expression didn't change, but there was something like approval in his gaze. Fine, he said. We'll begin with the money. What I learned over the next hour made my blood boil. Ethan had been siphoning money from his company for years. Fake vendors, inflated contracts, ghost employees. Then he used those profits to invest in cryptocurrency, not because he believed in it, but because criminals use it as the cleanest laundromat in the world. And the syndicate was the biggest player in Miami. He skimmed from the wrong accounts, Rowan said. And when the syndicate traced it back to him, he panicked. So he offered up Maeve, because he knew she was worth more alive than he was. I clenched my fists. He really thought I'd just hand over my family's money? He thought you loved him enough to do anything. And to be fair, until yesterday, he wasn't wrong. Don't, I warned. Rowan held my gaze. You were loyal to a man who didn't deserve you. That's not a flaw. It's a weapon, the kind men like Ethan use. Okay, I said through my teeth. Then tell me the rest. Rowan tapped his tablet again, pulling up another document. The Miami trip wasn't a vacation. It was a handoff. He was supposed to deliver a portion of your assets. Assets he claimed you had access to. How the hell would he even know I had assets? I demanded. Rowan lifted a brow. He didn't, but Vienna told him you did. My stomach twisted. How? Vienna told him she overheard you talking about a trust fund to a friend. I laughed bitterly. Of course she did, because I did have a trust fund, but it's nothing compared to the Hale holdings. She doesn't know that. Neither does he. So Ethan planned to use me, I murmured, and then disappear? Not alone, Lena said quietly. He planned to run with Vienna. But here's the catch. Vienna works for the syndicate. She's not in love with him. She's not even sleeping with him. She's bait. Once Ethan delivered you or the money, they would have no reason to keep him alive. Silence. Cold, dead silence. I'm sorry, what? I whispered. Rowan didn't blink. Works for the syndicate? She's not in love with him. She's not even sleeping with him. She's bait. Once Ethan delivered you or the money, they would have no reason to keep him alive. So he's sold me for a woman who was planning to murder him? Pretty much, Rowan said casually. Your husband is an idiot. A greedy idiot. And a dangerous one, Rowan finished. I pressed my palms to my eyes. This can't be real. It is. And tonight you're going to confront them with us. The goal is to turn the syndicate against Ethan. Their loyalty is transactional. If we show him he's been lying to them, they'll shift their rage toward him instead of you. So we make Ethan the target? He made you one first. We're just handing him back. I exhaled shakily. My heart still hurt, my brain still reeled, but something steadier was forming beneath the chaos. Resolve. All right, I said. Let's get this over with. But before we could go over the final plan, the elevator alarm chirped. A single, sharp beep. Rowan stiffened. Lena paled. What's that? I whispered. Rowan's voice dropped into a cold, lethal register I hadn't heard before. Someone breached the perimeter. My blood iced. Who? He checked the feed on his tablet, jaw locking. Maeve, you need to stay calm. Rowan, who is it? He turned the screen toward me. My heart slammed against my ribs. On the security footage, standing at the gate, smiling like he owned the world, was Ethan, my husband. But it wasn't Ethan's sudden appearance that made my stomach drop. It was the woman standing beside him.
I always believed luxury looked cleaner in the dark. No reflections of guilt, no shine that exposes fingerprints, no echoes of secrets bouncing off marble floors. That night, Austin's mansion looked like a hostage situation wrapped in satin. I had walked in like someone who still owned her fear, but honestly, my heart was doing acrobatics. The welcome home babe party lights were still glowing, even though clearly nobody was celebrating anything anymore. Austin stood in the center of the great room with that fake innocence he was born with. Jason paced near the bar like a man ready to fight a hurricane with a toothpick. Lila leaned against the piano, pretending she wasn't recording everything behind the glimmer of her diamond-studded phone case. Ava stood by the fireplace, hugging herself, staring at me as if I were the only adult left in a burning kindergarten. And David, my soon-to-be ex-husband, sat casually on the white couch, legs spread, arms resting over the back like he was the inspirational poster boy for arrogance. So, David said, voice smooth as bourbon, you told my friends I cheated. That was messy, sweetheart. I smirked. You literally cheated. I just turned on the lights. Yeah, but you didn't have to humiliate me. David, you humiliate yourself every time you speak in that stupid motivational podcast voice. Jason snorted. Lila burst into laughter. David didn't. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. It's time to stop playing. Finally, I said, we agree on something. Austin clapped his hands once like he was starting a board meeting. Let's get this straight tonight. No drama, no social media, just facts. Ava spoke softly. Why are we even mediating this? She already moved on. Moved on? David scoffed. She ran to Austin and now we're supposed to pretend she's innocent? Jason cracked his neck. David, you want to talk about innocence, really? After everything you pulled? Lila chuckled again. Man, you cheated on your wife and acted like it was a networking opportunity. David's jaw tightened. I'm not the villain here. Austin raised his brows. Buddy, you literally are. David stood up. Stop siding with her. She's manipulating all of you. Actually, I said calmly, I'm not manipulating anyone. I'm just done protecting people who wouldn't spit on me if I were on fire. The room went quiet. Ava looked at me with something like understanding. Maybe guilt, maybe sympathy, maybe shock. Austin moved closer. We're here because you two need to finalize your divorce terms. David rolled his eyes. This again? I already told you, she gets the Corolla and whatever's left over in the joint checking. Jason let out a low whistle. Bro, that's like $42. 42 and some change, David corrected. I laughed out loud. Wow, your generosity is blinding. What else do you want?
David snapped. The condo? I bought it. Technically, we bought it, I said. My investment returns covered half the mortgage. Oh my God, here she goes again with the dramatic millionaire storyline. It's not a storyline, I cut in. It's math. Something you avoided in high school and in our finances. Ava raised her hand slightly. Wait, are you actually a millionaire? David snorted. She thinks she is. She likes to pretend her little investments matter. I exhaled slowly. They're not little, and they matter enough. How much is enough? Austin asked carefully. A lot. Jason eyed me. How much is a lot, sweetheart? I could feel the room leaning toward me. Even Lila stopped pretending she wasn't recording. But I wasn't ready. Not yet. Not before I finished the setup. Not before David walked right into his own grave. We'll get there, I said. Let's start with the condo. No, David snapped. I keep it, you move out. I already moved out. Exactly, he said, smiling smugly. And I replaced you. That's when she walked in. Blonde, tan, tall, tight dress, eyelashes that probably touched the windshield when she drove here. The girl he had replaced me with. Babe, she said softly, blinking at all of us. You said everyone left. They should have, David muttered. This is my girlfriend. Fiancé, she corrected proudly. The whole room froze. Jason choked on air. Lila whispered, no freaking way. Ava turned around and walked straight to the kitchen like she needed to scream into a blender. Austin looked like he was calculating homicide. I kept smiling. Softly, slowly, scarily. Fiancé? I repeated. David cleared his throat. We haven't announced it yet. I see. Don't get dramatic. It's not personal. I tilted my head. You're engaged before we're divorced. I can multitask. I almost clapped. You can't even answer your emails. Can we get back to the negotiation? David snapped. You don't get the condo. You don't get my savings. You don't get the car. You mean the car that's still financed? Whatever. What do I get then? Freedom? Oh, he was bold today. Austin stepped forward. Man, relax. No, David shot back. She thinks she can take my life apart because she got her feelings hurt. You didn't hurt my feelings. You disrespected my existence. Silence again. Thick. Electric. Then I said it. Austin, show them. Austin nodded. He pulled out the folder I had handed him earlier, laid it on the marble coffee table. What is this? David asked. Proof? Of what? My multi-million status. David barked out a laugh. Yeah, okay. Keep laughing, I murmured. Austin opened the folder. Bank statements, property deeds, LLC documents, crypto wallets, investment portfolios, digital assets, slow building methodical proof that I wasn't just comfortable, I was wealthy, extremely wealthy, generational wealth type. I had played my cards quiet and steady while David was busy impressing strangers with borrowed money. Jason walked closer, eyes wide. Holy hell. Ava stepped toward the table like she was approaching a glowing artifact. Are these real? They're authenticated, Austin said. I checked everything myself. Lila gasped. Girl, you're worth more than all of us combined. Jason nodded. Easily. David wasn't nodding. He wasn't breathing. His face went drained, like his soul unplugged from his body. You had this money the entire time? Yep. And you never told me? You were too busy telling me you could do better. But why? I wanted to see how you treated me when you thought I had nothing. Spoiler, you failed the assignment. This can't be real. You're not rich. You don't dress rich. I don't cheat either. Should I start? Jason snorted. Austin rubbed his forehead. Ava whispered, damn. Lila clapped like she was watching a Netflix premiere. David shook his head, pacing, no. You manipulated this. How did I manipulate my bank account, David? You're lying. You must have faked all this. Austin handed him the notarized valuation papers. Try again. But I don't understand. You're not smart enough to be rich. Ava gasped. Dude, what the hell? I smiled. Say it again. What? Say it again, I said, stepping closer. Say I'm not smart enough. You're not. He didn't finish, because I put an envelope directly in his hand. He opened it, confused. His eyes scanned the first line.
When I said someone in the room had tried to destroy me, you could feel the air fold in on itself. The luxury mansion didn't look glamorous anymore. It looked like the kind of place where rich people plotted crimes and toasted to their own lies. Every pair of eyes landed on me, except one. Austin didn't move, didn't blink, didn't twitch. He stood there like a marble statue carved out of guilt. I stared at him, and he stared at the floor. Jason whispered, "Who?" Ava grabbed the back of a chair like she needed something to hold her grief. Lila didn't even hide her phone. She was recording openly now, her mouth hanging open. David just sat on the couch, ruined and confused, trying to piece together what new nightmare he had walked into. And Austin looked like a man waiting for his verdict. "Tell them," he repeated, but his voice cracked like something inside him finally snapped under the weight of truth. "Tell them what I did." Jason straightened. "You?" Ava gasped. Lila's hand flew to her mouth. David stood slowly, like he couldn't trust his own legs. "Austin?" Jason muttered. "Man, tell me she's lying. Tell me she's messing with us." Austin dragged a hand down his face. He didn't deny it. He didn't fight it. He didn't even breathe. "Why?" Jason demanded. "Why the hell would you do that?" Austin looked at me with a haunted softness. "Because I loved her." I felt my stomach twist. "You didn't love me," I said. "You wanted to control me." He shook his head, eyes glassy. No, that wasn't it." "Then what was it?" He stepped forward. "You were married to him." His voice cracked again. "You were wasting your brilliance on a man who couldn't spell opportunity. And I thought if he left you, if your finances were in shambles, if everything fell apart, I could be the one who fixed it." Ava covered her mouth. "Oh my God." Jason's voice lowered into something dangerous. "You sabotaged her so you could swoop in like a hero?" Austin nodded once. "I was wrong. I know. I know that now. But I thought if she needed someone, I could be that person." Lila shook her head. "Bro, that's not love. That's sociopathic." David laughed out loud, a cracked, ugly sound. Holy shit! Holy shit! You guys think I'm the villain? Austin was plotting behind the scenes like a wannabe Batman villain." Austin glared at him. "Shut up, David." "No," David said, pointing. "Don't shut up me. This man pretended to be your savior, your best friend, while he was tearing you apart for fun." "Not for fun," Austin whispered. "For love." "That's not love," I said sharply. "That's obsession wrapped in delusion." I know, and I've been trying to make up for it ever since." I clenched my jaw. Regret doesn't erase damage. "No," he said, nodding, "but protecting you was all I could do." "You protected me from the fire you started." "Yes." He said it with no hesitation, no deflection, no spin, just brutal honesty. And suddenly, the room felt too small, too full, too much. This was the man who had helped me rebuild my life, helped me empower me, helped me prepare for my divorce. And the entire time, a part of him was trying to atone for the sin that nearly destroyed my life before David even got the chance. David spoke first, oddly quiet. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell any of us?" I turned toward him. "Because you would have weaponized it." He didn't argue, couldn't argue. He just nodded in shame. Ava walked toward me cautiously. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because," I said softly, "because I wanted to believe that the person who saved my life wasn't the same person who broke it." Lila lowered her phone.
Even she wasn't recording now. The drama wasn't juicy anymore. It was too real, too raw. Jason stepped between Austin and me, protective. You don't get to just apologize and walk away, man. I'm not walking away, Austin said quietly. I'll accept whatever she decides. And then, because fate has a sick sense of humor, the power flickered, just for a second. But that second fractured the tension just enough for my memories to rush back. I remembered the night my accounts crashed. The alarms, the emails, the frantic calls, the way I cried on the floor because everything I worked for disappeared in minutes. Austin had arrived that night. He held me, comforted me, promised he'd fix everything. And he did. He fixed it so perfectly, I never suspected the fixer had lit the match. I stepped forward. The room parted like I was dragging gravity behind me. Look at me, I said. Austin lifted his eyes. Did you ever think about what would have happened if your hack didn't get reversed? No, I said sharply. Tell the truth. He swallowed. No. Did you think about what would have happened if I lost everything? No. Did you think about what close I came to hurting myself that night? Ava gasped. Jason's face drained. David looked sick. Austin covered his mouth. I didn't know that. I swear I didn't know that. If I had known... You didn't ask. You didn't consider consequences. You didn't consider me. I did it because I loved you. You didn't love me, I said. You wanted to control me. He shook his head, eyes glassy. No, that wasn't it.